Maybe Omri ought to tell someone about the little bear. The trouble was that although grown-ups usually knew what to do, what they did was very seldom what children wanted to be done. What if they took the Indians, say, some scientist, or whoever knew about strange things like that? They would question him and examine him and probably keep him in a laboratory or something of that sort. They would certainly want to take the cupboard away too, and then Omri wouldn't be able to have any more fun with it at all. So when his mind was seething with ideas, just as putting plastic bows and arrows and horses, and maybe even another little people, well, no, probably that was too risky. Who knew what sort you might land up with? They might start fighting each other. But still, he knew for certain he didn't want to give up his secret, not yet, no matter how many Frenchmen had been scalped. Having made his decision, for the moment anyway, Omri turned to go upstairs, discovering only halfway up the tin of corned beef was practically empty. Still, there was a fair-sized bit left in the bottom. That ought to do. Little Bear was nowhere to be seen, but when Omri called him softly, he ran out from under the bed and stood waving both arms up at Omri. Bring meat? Yes. Omri put it on the miniature plate he had cut the night before and placed it before the Indian, who seized both hands and began to gnaw it. Very good. Soft. Your wife cooked this? Omri started to laugh. I haven't got a wife. The Indian stopped and looked at him. Omri, not good. Not got wife? Who grow corn, grind, cook, make clothes? My mother, said Omri, still grinning. Have you got a wife then? The Indian looked away. After a moment, he said, no. Why not? Dead, said Little Bear shortly. Oh. The Indian finished eating in silence and stood up, wiping his greasy hands on the sides of his trousers. Now, do magic. Make things for Little Bear. What do you want? Gun, he answered promptly. White man's gun. The English soldier. Omri's brain raced. A tiny knife could stab, a tiny gun could shoot. Maybe it couldn't do much harm, but then again, maybe it could. No, no gun. But I can make you bow and arrows. And I have to buy plastic ones, though. What else? A horse? Horse! Little Bear seemed surprised. Don't you ride? I thought all Indians rode. Little Bear shook his head. Iroquois walk. Wouldn't you like to ride? Little Bear stood quite still, frowning, wrestling with this novel idea. At last he said, maybe. Show horse, then I see. Again, Omri rummaged in the biscuit tin. There were a number of horses in here. Big heavy ones were carrying armored knights, smaller ones were pulling gun carriages and Napoleon wars, several cavalry horses. Those might be the best. Omri ranged 5 or 6 various sizes and colors before Little Bear, whose black eyes began to shine. I have, he said promptly. You mean all of them? Little Bear nodded hungrily. No, that's too much. I can't have hordes of horses galloping all over my room. You can choose one. One, said Little Bear sadly. One. Little Bear then made a very thorough examination of every horse, feeling their thighs, running his hands over their rumps, looking straight into their plastic faces. At last he selected the smallest brown horse with 2 white feet that had originally, as far as Omri could remember, carried an Arab, brandishing a curved sword and a platoon of French foreign legionnaires. Omri lifted the cupboard onto the floor, shut the horse in, and turned the key. Almost at once they could hear the clattering of tiny hooves on metal. They looked at each other with joyful faces. Open! Open door, commanded Little Bear. Omri lost no time in doing so. There, prancing and pawing the white paint, was a lovely, shiny-coated little brown Arab horse. As the door swung open, it shied nervously, turning his face and pricking his ears so far forward they almost met over his forelock. His tiny nostrils flared, and his black tail plumed over the haunches as he gave a high, shrill neigh. Hey, cried Little Bear. In a moment he had vaulted over the bottom edge of the cupboard, and as the horse reared in fright, he jumped into the air in his flying hooves and grasped the leather reins. The horse fought to free its head. The Little Bear hung him with both hands. Even as the horse plunged and bucked, the Indian had moved from the front to the side. Grasping the high pommel of the saddle, he swung himself onto it. He ignored the swinging stirrups, holding on by gripping with his knees. The horse flung himself back into his haunches, threw himself forward in a mighty buck, his head low, heels flying. To Omri's dismay, Little Bear, instead of clinging on somehow, came loose and flew through the air in a curve, landing on the carpet just beyond the edge of the cupboard. Omri thought his neck must be broken, but he had landed in sort of a somersault. He was instantly on his feet again. The face he turned to Omri was shining with happiness. Crazy Horse, he cried with fierce delight. The Crazy Horse was meanwhile standing quite still, reins hanging loose, looking watchfully at the Indian through wild, wide apart eyes. Little Bear made no sudden moves. He stood quite still for a long time, just looking back at the horse. Then, so slowly, you could scarcely notice, he edged towards him, making strange hissing sounds between his clenched teeth that almost seemed to hypnotize the horse. Inch by inch he moved softly, cautiously, until he and the horse stood almost nose to nose. Then quite calmly, Little Bear reached up and laid his hands on the horse's neck. That was all. He did not hold the reins. The horse could have jumped away, but he didn't. He raised his nose a little, so that he and the Indian seemed to be breathing into each other's nostrils. In a quiet voice, Little Bear said, "Now, horse mine. Crazy Horse mine." Still moving slowly, though not as slowly as before, he took the reins and moved alongside the horse. A certain amount of fiddling, he found out how to unbuckle the straps that held the Arabian saddle, and lifted it off, laying it on the floor. The horse snorted and tossed its head, but it did not move. Hissing gently now, the Indian first leaned his weight against the horse's hide, then lifted himself up by his arms until he was astride. Letting the reins hang loose on the horse's neck, he squeezed with his legs. The horse moved forward. It was tame and obedient as you please. The pair rode once around the inside of the cupboard, as if it had been a circus arena. Suddenly, Little Bear caught up the reins and pulled them to one side, turning the horse's head, at the same time kicking and sharply. The horse wheeled and bounded forward towards the edge of the cupboard. His metal rim was up to the small horse's chest, like a 5-bar gate to a full-size horse. There was no room to ride straight at it, from the back of the cupboard to the front. Little Bear rode diagonally, a very difficult angle, that the horse cleared at a flying leap. Omri realized that once the carpet was too soft for him, deeply sank into the soft sand. "Need ground, not blanket," said Little Bear sternly. "Blanket not good for ride." Omri looked at his clock. It was still only a little after 6 in the morning, at least another hour before anyone else would be up. "I could take you outside," he said hesitantly. "Good," said Little Bear. "Not touch horse. You touch, much fear." Omri quickly found a small cupboard box that held a matchbox lorry. It even had a sort of a window in which he could see what was happening inside. He laid that down on the carpet with the end swept open. Little Bear rode the horse into the box, and Omri carefully shut the end up, even more carefully lifted. With his bare feet, he carried the box slowly down the stairs and let himself up to the back door. It was a lovely, fresh spring morning. Omri stood on the back steps with the box in his hands, looking around for a suitable spot. The lawn wasn't much good. The grass would be over the Indian's head in most places. The terrace on the foot of the steps was no use at all, with its hard, uneven bricks and cracks between them. But the path was beaten earth and small stones, real riding ground. If they were careful, Omri walked to the path and laid down the matchbox cart and bench. For a moment he hesitated. Can the Indian run away? How fast could such a small horse run? As fast as, say, a mouse? So, if he wanted to escape, Omri wouldn't be able to catch them. A cat, on the other hand, would. Omri knelt on the path in his pajamas and put his face in the cellophane window. The Indian stood inside, holding the horse's head. "Little Bear," he said clearly, "we're outdoors now. I'm going to let you out to ride, but remember, you're not on the prairie now. There are mountain lions here, and they're big enough to swallow you whole and the horse too. Don't run away, you won't survive. Do you understand?" Little Bear looked at him steadily and nodded. Omri opened the flap, and the Indian and horse stepped out into the morning sunlight.